homeowner in Texas is killed by police when he comes outside with a rifle, but then shoots back into his own home. We'll break down this video with noted criminal defense attorney Tom Grieve. But first, let me tell you, we have a giveaway going on. It's happening right now. It's absolutely free, but it ends really soon. I am not authorized to tell you what we're giving away. I can't say the word on the internet, but it fits in a holster. All right, Tom. This is a very serious incident. Happened in Austin, Texas, back in November. Police get a report that there's a man with a rifle in his home, and upon arrival, he comes outside, and there's all sorts of surveillance video footage of him outside his home, and there's some police body cam worn video. He turns around and fires 2 rounds inside his home. Police tell him to drop his gun. He doesn't. They shoot him and kill him. And to me, this is just a situation where, one, if the cops are coming, do what they say. And 2, you know, if you're involved in a deadly force incident, perhaps this guy thought someone was in his home. That's why he armed himself. Do not present yourself to the police where you appear to be a threat.
Yeah, okay. So, 100% what you just said. I'm gonna keep adding. So, number one, if you really think someone's inside your house, I'm not going to hang out inside my house. Right. Now, there might be exceptions. If my family's inside, stuff like that, then I'm in that Shark Tank, right? But otherwise, if I'm just a single guy, I think someone's in my house, like, I'm getting out of the house.
And it appeared the homeowner wasn't the caller. It was someone else called and reported the homeowner at, I'm going to say causing problems, but that's,
Well, I mean, and our information about this video, which to be clear is extraordinarily limited, but I mean, I think you set it up before, which is the fact that this guy's standing outside somewhere on his front yard or front side of his property shooting into his home. So I can imagine why that would get calls in most neighborhoods. Yeah. Probably not all, but most. So number one, don't shoot inside your home. You know, we only shoot when there's a deadly threat right there. We have proper target identification, isolation, all that kind of stuff, right? Which, given the fact there's nothing mentioned about who he shot or anything of the sort as part of this investigation, would lead me to believe that none of those factors were present. He was just shooting into his home, I guess. So that's one aspect. Another aspect, as you already mentioned, is, of course, when the police roll around, that's when you put your firearm down slowly, make no sudden movements, and follow their commands very carefully. I'm going to pull out a third factor here. By my count, the officer shot, I think, 6 times with his AR-15 at the distance of maybe 50 feet. Yeah. 60 feet, give or take.
Down the length of the driveway or something like that.
This came up as part of the Kyle Rittenhouse case when Mr. Rittenhouse discharged his AR-15 at very close proximity to Mr. Rosenbaum. I think shot him 4 times, as I recall, possibly 5. And I remember speaking to some veteran friends of mine who'd done deployments and were door kickers and all that kind of stuff. Something that they mentioned to me, and I, to be clear, all the qualifiers, right, of this is not something I've researched, but this is something that both the Rittenhouse case and now this both remind me of. So I'm just going to throw it out there to the internet, and maybe people can correct me in the comments section, which I invite, to be clear. What I've been told is that it's by no means uncommon that if you're going to use 5.56 as a threat stopper, you're looking at 3, 4, 5 rounds very commonly, which to my mind, considering the fact that each one of those rounds carries a potential homicide charge on that, effective threat stopper, yes. Effective legal threat stopper, less so. And 6 shots.
Yeah, there's always going to be the question, why did he shoot him so many times?
Always.
Or why did he shoot so many times? And I will stress again, and people will say, well, I'm defending cops because I was one. You show up to a call of a person with a gun, you don't know anything other than the person is there with a gun. And there's limited information coming from the dispatcher. Maybe they'll say, it might be a possible mental, it might be, a domestic incident or something like that. Maybe they'll be able to tell you that, but you don't know for sure, especially if this is getting called in by a third party. That it's just something they saw and they think something is happening. And you get there and you see a guy come out with a rifle and then fire that rifle. I'm immediately thinking that this is a situation that has gone right to the top of the charts on how do I get home alive.
Yeah, he's prepared to use force.
Right, and he's already shown a willingness to do that, and I might need to shoot this person. And we hear on the video, show me your hands. We hear these standard commands. There is also a point on the video where the officer says, drop the weapon, but then immediately fires. But prior to that, there's other commands that were made, and I cannot stress enough that to come out of an incident like that unscathed, follow the directions of the law enforcement officer when they get there, because all they know is somebody's got a gun, and I'm going to go home safely. That's what cops are thinking when they get there.
And to be clear, and if I wasn't, I'll clarify right now, and if I was, then I'll add to it. To my mind, I don't have enough information to say whether or not the cops made a justified use of force. I don't know, because I don't know if they've been standing outside trying to talk to this guy for 5 minutes, and he's pointing the barrel of the gun at them, and or if they just got there, rolled up. We've got 5 seconds of show me your hands, and then another officer, or maybe same officer, immediately says drop the gun, and then we've got 2 commands, 3 seconds, and they light him up with 6 shots. Because obviously, if that guy is not pointing the firearm at them and so forth, I'm not saying that therefore makes it unreasonable, but it's a different situation as opposed to we've got 5 minutes of dialogue. The guy's ignoring him. He's acting maybe psychotic, or there's mental health issues, and he's shooting at people and things that aren't there. And he's the muzzle of his rifle is going across the officers. So there's a spectrum of possibilities given our limited angles and limited perspective on this. And to my mind, the spectrum goes all the way from the officers were 100% justified to the officers were not very justified at all.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying this to beat up on anyone involved. I just, without more information, I don't know where we're at.
Yeah, and I'm not here to talk about what the officers did or how they did it. What I'm here is to tell the folks who are watching that when the police arrive to an incident where you have your gun out, the officers will probably view you as a threat until you are obviously not a threat. And now is not the time when you're holding that gun, even if you are 100% in the right. There's a bad guy in your house and you came running out of your house with your defensive firearm. The officers don't know that. They're going to tell you to put your gun down. That is not the time to try to explain it. They said the last words this man uttered apparently were, "It wasn't me." But you know what? In the fog of making an arrest, everybody always says it wasn't me. I didn't do anything. And you get there as a cop, and there's a guy holding a rifle, and he says it wasn't me, and then he fires 2 shots. It was him. He's firing the shots. He's the guy who is my most immediate threat, and I'm going to deal with that in the way that makes sure I am safe and compliant with all the policies and laws that is going on. So this tragedy could have been avoided, I think, with the homeowner, in this case, following commands. Maybe he wasn't able to do that.
And so to your point, because so where I kind of left off is there's a spectrum where the officer's 100% right, or maybe they should be charged. Taking it from the perspective of the homeowner, he absolutely did not handle this properly.
Yeah.
And of that, there can be no dispute, no debate. He did not handle this properly at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, always a pleasure to get your insight, Tom. Thank you very much for helping us out with this one. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Kevin.
Want to know the 3 biggest mistakes when carrying a handgun? Then click on the video next to me to reveal all 3 mistakes. Mistake number 2 may shock you. Everybody has their own cardinal rules for what they're going to do when they're carrying a gun. But right now, I'm going to give you 3 things that you must never do